by the way, Presley.
Hello, Amaya Garcia. Welcome
Hi,
to
Jenna.
Voices of
How you
Elevate.
doing?
Yeah, it's really
Thank
lovely
you
to
so
meet you
much.
at last.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm talking over you already. I'm Spanish, we talk a lot.
No, well, I have to stop myself because I'm just so ADHD and I always used to get really excited and just talk all over everybody. And now I have to literally bite my tongue inside my mouth. No, they haven't finished yet.
That's that's probably going to be me during this podcast.
Yeah, we'll just be mindful and it's fine.
Sure.
So you contacted me on Instagram because you were really, really wanted to be part of our amazing event.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, what was it that drew you to Elevate originally?
It was, I think you started following me on Instagram and I thought, oh, I wonder what this festival is about. And then so I went online and I went on the website and I started looking at videos from past elevates and people talking about it and some pictures and obviously the information on the website as well. And I just really related to everything that was said there.
Mm,
Especially the bit about conscious connections, because I'm very much into that these days to have to live my life in a more conscious way. I
yeah,
used to live in a very unconscious way back in the day.
same.
And so now I try to live my life in a more conscious way. And I thought, huh, this is a really, like, I don't know, I just felt like some kind of connection with it, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I just felt like I should be there.
Mm. And so
One of
you're
those
a
things. Hmm.
so you're a DJ, aren't you? And you're coming to do
Yes,
ecstatic dance.
yes,
And is
I'm
that
a
something that you
dancer.
do? Is that something you do normally in
Yes, yes.
London?
Yes, usually in London, although I spent the winter in Mexico. I
Wow,
was
yeah.
there for 6.5 months, lucky me.
Yeah.
And I would say I had the pleasure and the honor to play there at ecstatic dances as well, and some non-ecstatic dance events as well. I can do non-ecstatic dance events, but to be honest, these days I prefer sober events more and more.
Mm.
Uh, I did play at a New Year's Eve event for 4 hours in Mexico. It was a very long set, and people were very drunk,
Yeah.
and it was very messy, and I
I mean,
didn't really
I can just
enjoy
imagine,
much.
and I think it's a very different reception, isn't it?
Totally
You know,
different,
ecstatic dance
totally.
people are really embodied into the sounds that you're playing and the journey. Like you've got this really important role of taking them on a journey and opening them up. And yet, with a normal DJing, I guess it's just received at whatever level anyone's on, what drugs they're on, what alcohol they're on, if they're even listening, are they, you know, not quite there,
Not so present
not
because
so present.
obviously the substances stop you from being present in your own body, let
Mm,
alone in your environment. I mean, I know because I used to do it a lot in
yeah,
the 90s. I used
yeah,
to drink and take a lot of drugs and
yeah.
go clubbing. And I love the music. That's why I went
Mm,
there. I love the music, but I felt too self-conscious to dance sober. And
mm,
also, like, I just never went out sober. I just didn't know that you could do that.
mm.
And so then I will get there and just to be able to dance for longer and get into my own space, I guess, into my own world. It was a kind of escape from reality more than being present in my reality. Whereas static dance is the opposite, I find. It's like
Mm.
when I'm dancing, um, I'm more present in my body because I'm sober now. So I got clean and sober in 2003, one day at a time. And still to this day, 22 years later, I'm still clean and sober. And my life obviously has completely changed from that. And I've been able to do a lot more like in-depth work on myself over the years. And yeah, now I'm completely present in my life, 24 hours a day. Uh, which is, sometimes it can be challenging when things are not going well. But when things are going well, like I get that feeling that I used to chase with the drugs, but in
Yeah,
a natural way.
Yeah, I do know. Everything you said just resonated with my own life and my own, you know. I've been there, sister. I've done all what you did, and I've discovered what you've discovered. Yeah, I totally hung on to every word, like, yes, me too, me too. So yeah, I loved that. And yeah, it's just I did the same. I loved what you said about you used to take the drugs and dance as a means of escape, but with ecstatic dance, it's not that. You know, it's being present. I just think that's such a great way of describing it. Yeah.
Really, I mean, now I was a study dancer, if that's the word, long before I became a DJ. So I was dancing for maybe 6, 7 years before I became a study dance DJ.
Mm.
And
Were you
literally,
already were you already a DJ before?
uh, long story short, I was a DJ for a little while in my early 20s in Spain, back in Spain where I'm from.
Mm.
Then I go into the drugs and the sort of nightlife.
Mm.
And I stopped, you know. I think if I would have carried on back then, who knows where I would be now. But
Mm.
then life took me on this path of
Mm.
addiction, and I was quite lost, you know. So I got into DJing again last year. So, and to be honest, I got into it as a hobby. I
Mm.
never expected to play for people. I
Mm.
was just, and then it just happened. Then I got offered some really amazing gigs, you know, study dance gigs, and I was like, sure, I'll do that. And here I am.
Yeah, in the flow, totally in the
Yeah,
flow.
in the flow, totally in the
Yeah.
flow. So, and the more I do it, the more gigs I get offered. So I'm like, sure. I
Yeah.
find that when I'm learning this last year, where I'm learning through my own DJ journey, and then spend the time that I spent in Mexico, which was I went through a lot of healing there. What I'm learning is that the more I am in my own alignment, in my own essence as a person inside, well, that's reflected in the outer world, isn't it?
Mm.
Uh, the more everything is more fluid.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest, it feels amazing to live like this, you know? So
Yeah.
I lived like this before. I can.
I have a friend. I have a friend. He's retired. He retired early. He's 63, and we go cold river dipping every week. I've been doing it with him nearly 2 years, and so he's this amazing, inspiring character. And he got into yoga because there was like park yoga locally, and we were all doing it. And so he got into it. And then over Christmas, he went to India to study it. He went to an ashram. And then he was only supposed to be there like 2 months, and he ended up being there for 4 months. And since he's come back, while he was in India, he really learned the art of just going with the flow and synchronicity. And he said it was while he was traveling. I think he also went to like Cambodia and stuff, but he said while he was traveling, he would see people and then bump into them again in some off the beaten track in the middle of nowhere kind of place, you know, a little bit like the Celestine prophecy when in Peru, you know, but he was having all these amazing synchronicities. And so he's continuing that magic since being in the UK. And I keep saying, I really want to meet you for coffee and hear about your experience. And he's like, well, when they say, they'll bump us into each other. And and on his Facebook, he keeps writing about synchronicity. And I was getting a bit annoyed thinking, but I just want to see you. Anyway, yesterday I popped into Lidl's and I was going to pop to Tesco's, but Lidl's was nearer and my kids were like, they wanted something in there. So we went into there and then I looked around and I saw him and I just shouted down the aisle, synchronicity. And we had the most amazing, haven't
Uh,
seen you for ages, old friend, hug in the aisle in the supermarket. But he was just sort of telling me about, you know, it happens when it's supposed to happen, and to
happen.
trust
Yes.
them. And I said, well, I trust them because I'm shit by myself. Like, you know, if I'm left to my own devices, it doesn't happen, you know. Whereas if I just let them take me in the flow, it's amazing, you know,
It
what
is.
comes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's
Well,
always a better plan. It's always better than you could have
sure,
imagined.
sure, more
Yeah.
magical as well, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I used to be a professional control freak, I tell you, And,
Yes.
like I had to control everything because that's how I grew up, I
Yeah.
grew up in an environment where I had to be in control of what was happening. And
Mm.
became part of me, I guess, for many years. And so I had to control everything to feel safe, and this is what
Mm.
happens. Sometimes we come from sort of dysfunctional backgrounds or whatever has happened in the past, and then you learn to be in control as a means to um sorry, my cat is trying to come up. As a means to feel safe. And
Mm.
so letting go of that control was a journey. It took
Yeah.
time. And now I'm living in the opposite way, which is living in the flow. And because I've experienced the opposite, I'm so grateful for this now. Like
Mm.
I'm really, really grateful from the heart to be living like this now. And traveling, I think I identify with your friend because when I travel is when I do a lot more personal growth in a shorter space of time. I think because I have time and space. And I think when I'm in the city, living in the city life, it's like kind of you get busy and you have your schedule and you have things to do. So there's not so much space for magic and for synchronicities because everything has to be planned all the time. Like my diary is always full, and I always wonder, why is it so full? I don't understand. But anyway, it's the way we live these days. You have to be somewhere and you have to work and you have to do your life. So, but when I'm away, like when I was in Mexico, when they're sort of on a holiday, quote unquote, but also to do other things and to DJ there as well. And yeah, I had a bit more time. Say I wasn't working full time. So so when you have time and space, then suddenly all these experiences start to come in, and you are not in a hurry to go places so much. So you have time, which is what we don't get
Mm.
in the city life. You have time, and now suddenly, yeah, like I will meet someone. I remember I became really, really good friends with someone, a woman called Nia. Hi, Nia. She should probably watch this later. And we met in Tulum in an ecstatic dance. But actually, we didn't meet. We saw each other in the ecstatic dance, and she was dancing like she didn't care about anything, totally careless. Like I don't care if anyone is watching. Very, very free spirit. And I thought, I like that girl. And she saw me, and she thought, I like that girl. And then we bumped into each other the following week in another ecstatic dance in Playa del Carmen. And then we started talking. She said, hey, I saw you last week. And I said, yeah, I saw you too, blah, blah. And then she says, oh, I live in Puerto Morelos. And I said, I live in Puerto Morelos too, in a different town, right? And she says, no way. She says, I live in Rana, which means frog, a street called Frog. And I went, no shit, excuse my French. I live in the parallel street. So then we became friends. And when I went to her house, we were in her rooftop, which is on really high up. And I looked down from the rooftop and my house was just there. Our houses were literally wall,
Kissing.
like the gardens were facing each other like this.
Wow.
And we are like,
I just got goosebumps. I just, yeah,
your head explodes. It's
yeah.
like first time we saw each other was in Tulum, which is like 3 hours away from where we live,
Mm.
and
You
then
actually
maybe
lived
like
garden
goosebumps.
to garden. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like our houses are literally linked together.
yeah.
What? And yeah,
Amazing.
she's become a really good friend. So these kind of things, when you are traveling, happens a lot
Mm.
because you are in the flow of life. Whereas
Yeah.
living in the city, I don't feel like I can be in the flow of life so much
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
have responsibilities and things to do.
Yeah, I think letting go of the fears, and like you were saying, when you said about being a control freak, so I was always somebody who was just in the flow. In fact, I know that I used to annoy people because I think I annoyed my parents because I would be like, I'd get pregnant again. And it would just be like, oh, I'll just have another baby then, and I'll just be like this, and everything's just meant to be. What's meant for me will just come, and I've just always just been go with the flow. It's fine. And then when my ex and I broke up, I was so traumatized by the whole. It wasn't just that we just broke up. It was like I had to find somewhere else to live. My whole lifestyle and work and everything was on this land where we lived, and so it's like a big old trauma with lots of layers. And I, for the first time in my life, I became a control freak, and I was forcing directions. Like, I'm a single mum now, like I have to make things work, and I need to make money, and I need to survive, you know, and it was all of that. But I've always got a real close you know, antennae to source, you know, and I was going, what am I supposed to do? And they kept saying, surrender. The word surrender kept coming, and I was sort of shouting back, how am I supposed to surrender? Like, you know, I've got no money and I've got this, like, how am I supposed to surrender? And then I realized, yeah, that's like, I'm not. And then as soon as I just thought, fine, I'm letting go of the reins, and then it all, doors open, people come in, things happen, and it's always more than you could have, you know, like I said earlier, it's more than you could have thought up yourself or pushed for yourself. It's always much more magic. And yeah,
Yes.
but it's so difficult, isn't it, to just let go of that control and surrender when we're taught to be hustlers, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. Also, I think for me, my need to control everything in my life came from trauma as well. You know, it's like a kind of survival mechanism.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have to be vigilant. I have to be
Yeah.
all the time on alert mode and make
Yes.
sure that I'm okay and I'm safe and all of these things. But then what happens with that is you take it into your life, and it doesn't work so well anymore when you get into, like, you know, work places and relationships, and you know, regular situations in life, friendships and whatever. Uh, and also, like, on the other side, the need, you know, if I'm trying to control everything in my life all the time, it's kind of like I'm limiting my potential, and I'm limiting
Yeah.
what can happen to me in life, you know, because I'm kind of deciding to stay in my comfort zone more and more. But I think for me, I did it because I had to. When I first started to feel the need to control, it was necessary. And
Yeah.
then it kind of just became a pattern.
Yeah.
I also had PTSD for a long, long time. So I think, you know, when you have PTSD, the body's constantly on fight or flight. And so feeling in control helps you feel a bit more safe in your own body, in your own life. I
Yeah.
don't have PTSD anymore. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Oh,
able to
that's
heal
good.
that, which is amazing. And now, you know, my nervous system is back to normal. Now it's regulated. I can feel things sort of in normal quantities. I don't get triggered so much. And so is a completely different story now. This is why I'm able also to be in the flow, because my body is in the flow now. Whereas before,
Yeah.
my body was trapped in that fight or flight. Which I believe, you know, a lot of us unfortunately suffer from these
Yeah.
different reasons, you know.
Well, I see the necessity of why I needed to be in that, because I did need to find somewhere to live, and I did need to create a whole new life for myself, you know. And so it was like, well, but I did it in such a place of trauma. Like, it was almost like a need to create a new life, because I'd lost the life that I had, and
Yeah.
I needed to create something that stopped me grieving that. All right, well, I need to create something that will stop me grieving what I've lost, you know. And I've done that now. So
And they can right or wrong with that, you know. A lot of
yeah.
times, like, I used to think about my past as in, oh, I did this and I did that and that was wrong and this was right. And now I don't anymore. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like you do what you need to do at the time, and we learn from experience. So you only
Yeah.
learn what doesn't serve you by trying it first.
Yeah, and I think we're always kind of merging into different versions of ourselves. We're so multidimensional that we're never always the same all the time. Like,
Yeah.
life happens, things happen, you know, we're always discovering different versions of
And,
ourselves.
and
Yeah.
that is essential, you know. For me, this is why I'm here. This is where I was placed in this planet, you know, to for my soul to grow. This is for me, this is all to do with soul growth. So when I stay in my comfort zone, my soul doesn't have so much opportunity to grow. When I step out of my comfort zone, then that becomes an adventure. And I
Yeah.
can't, like, these days, I keep evolving, like, almost every day, you know, like every day I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Like
Mm.
I just keep evolving so fast these days.
Yeah,
Uh,
quantum leaping.
it's so amazing to experience and to watch. I just
Yeah.
observe, like I observe it from outside.
So it's
And
almost an addiction, isn't it? Like, oh, how far can I take this? This is so, that's how I get. It's like, so I've always been quite shy. Not when I used to drink alcohol and take drugs, I'd be the life and soul of the party. I wouldn't be
yeah,
shy
me too.
then, but generally I would be shy. And when I got married years ago, I dragged my dad down the aisle because I wanted to get that bit over with everyone looking at me. It's like, don't everyone look at me, like, come on, dad, let's get this over with. And so and everything I've ever done, I've always been behind the scenes. Like, I've run events, but I'm always the person behind the scenes. And then I've got friends who are big performers, and they're the ones who take the limelight, but I'm the one squirreling behind in the background, making it happen, that kind of thing. And then I got this download that I needed to do an ecstatic dance locally, and I was like, I'm not facilitating that. Like, I can't do that. But I've been doing it now for just over 2 years, and each time I step out of that comfort zone, and I'm becoming more and more, it's becoming more and more easy, but it's also giving me more confidence generally in public speaking. So last year and the year before, I spoke at festivals, and events where I was like, so I've done public speaking now, which was another really, really big
Yeah.
hurdle. And I think that confidence is just feeling that fear, pushing it, like little levels, isn't it? Right, well, now I can do that, maybe I can do that. And then each level you go, if you just keep saying yes, like even DJing, that's quite daunting, isn't it? What if people don't like my music, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing? Or what if I make a mistake and everyone's there? Or, there's a lot of what ifs, but also being center of attention in a, it's quite a hurdle, isn't it? But I find that every time now it's almost like a muscle, where there's the comfort zone muscle, and the more you just ignore how comfortable you're not feeling, the smaller it's almost like you just become stronger at feeling the fear and doing it anyway, don't you? The more you practice it, the more you go, yep, I'm shitting myself, but I'm not going to give that any attention. I'm just going to do it anyway, because I know that when I do that thing, it's never as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it will give me another step up the confidence ladder.
Yes. And I
Yeah,
really like what you said, feel the fear and do it anyway.
yeah,
Because for me, I learned that when I was going to 12-step groups for addiction, for substance addiction.
yeah.
That's where I learned that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And it
Mm,
stuck with me, because
mm,
I felt fearful a lot when I was in a little recovery. Life was very overwhelming, felt very overwhelming. Everything was like a mountain to climb. Everything was challenging at the time, obviously not anymore. And when I heard that, I thought, yeah, that's the trick, isn't it? Because I am going to feel fearful sometimes. We are going to feel fearful in life sometimes, when you go for a job interview, or when you DJ, or when you are facilitating an event. And even smaller things, like in the old days, it
going on
was
a first date, I always find that
first
terrifying.
things,
Those
nerve-wracking.
kind of,
Yeah, yeah. All of there's so many things that are nerve-wracking, and we are
yeah.
gonna feel fear. But I
Mm,
feel my fear now,
mm,
and I go, yes, that's a normal feeling to have,
mm,
because fear is not negative. It just
yeah,
kind of
it's just
is
another emotion.
another
and,
emotion,
and I
like
think
joy,
this
like sadness.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've really learned to master being sober, is my emotions. Because like you said, at the beginning, when you first give up all your crutches, whether it be alcohol, cigarettes, chocolate, whatever your crutches to
All of
survive
the
life,
above.
when you're feeling bad, yeah, when you're feeling bad, or a feeling's coming up, the first thing we do is look to our crutch. Oh, I'm feeling a feeling, I need to smoke a cigarette. Oh, I'm feeling a feeling, I need to go out and get wrecked. And
Or
so
Netflix,
so
just
the big
watching
journey, isn't it?
Netflix all day long. That's
Yeah,
another crutch. Yeah.
yeah. And so the big
Mm.
journey is to sit with yourself, sit with every single feeling as it comes up, and you have to go, okay, I've got nothing to squash this down with. I'm just going to have to look at it and feel it and honor it and journal on it. And at
Yeah.
first it's really uncomfortable not feeling okay and sitting with it without a crutch, isn't it? But then you just become, I could deal with any emotion now. I know I can because I'm stronger now because I gave up substances, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might not get to that place where I'm comfortable to feel my feelings for a little while, and
Mm.
it's okay. And
Yeah.
I might not use drugs and alcohol today or cigarettes. I stopped smoking like 18 years ago.
Mm.
Also, I don't use caffeine
Mm.
99% of the time. I might have something like once in a while if I go out, I might have a fizzy drink or something. But
Mm.
usually I don't keep it in my place, and I don't use it. I don't drink coffee and tea and things like that. So obviously I'm living in my own body and in my own skin pretty
Mm.
much 24 hours a day, which when you're a human, especially a highly sensitive human like me, that's a bit of a challenge in itself, isn't it? Because the world sometimes can be harsh, sometimes things can be difficult, life can be challenging to say the
Yeah.
least. And it's hard. So sometimes I might do the Netflix binge for a bit, you know. I might
Mm.
be like, yeah, I know what I
Mm.
have to deal with, but today I
Yeah,
can't be.
I do that. I'm like, okay, probably once
Just
every
take
couple of
it out.
months.
You know? I take
Yeah.
a day off. Or sometimes, some years ago, I decided to do this one thing which works really well for me now. Because you know, I went to a 12-step program for alcohol, I can say AA,
Mm.
and they have this saying, pour me, pour me, pour me another drink. When you're feeling sorry for yourself, it's not a good thing. Usually it's not a great thing if you do it for a long period of time, because eventually you might feel like drinking
Mm.
because you get to despair, don't you?
Yeah.
But having said that, in my recovery journey, I don't go to meetings anymore. I've gone on another journey now, but
Mm.
I still remember everything I learned, or most of it. And so, what I decided to do a few years ago, yes, so, feeling sorry for myself is not great, but now I'm going to allow myself 24 hours to have a self,
Yes.
like a pity party, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
Allow myself 24 hours where I can just go for it.
Mm. I do
Or,
that. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
person did this to me, and how dare they?
Yeah.
And I feel so sorry for myself, and da 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 da. And then after 24 hours, I
Brush
snap out of it.
yourself down and get back on with it.
Brush myself down and I
Yeah.
snap out of it. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to deal with
Yeah.
whatever is
Well,
going on.
because those feelings, we're not immune from feelings ever, you know, and things are always happening. We're having the human experience, feelings are going to come up. But to take that time, I
Yeah,
do, I shut myself off from the world. People are messaging me. I'm like, I'm not talking to you today. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm going to stay at home and I'm just going to feel, I'm just going to let these feelings come through. And then the next day I wake up and I'm fine because I've just allowed it to
allow it.
leave
Yeah.
me.
Because, you know, we so-called spiritual people, and I
Mm.
do quote unquote, which is a bit cheesy, but I do
Mm.
that because you know spirituality is different for everyone, and
Yeah. Oh,
so
it's
many.
so different. I mean, now
So
it's
that's
a,
why I use it
yeah,
very like with a pinch of salt.
yeah,
But sometimes we so-called spiritual people can do this so-called spiritual bypassing, which is,
yeah.
oh, I must be positive all the time because the more I'm positive, the more good things are going to come into my life. And I fell
Mm.
into that trap for a while when I
Mm.
had my first spiritual awakening. Uh, well, actually, it was my second. The first one I ignored because I was still taking drugs, so it kind of came and went. But the second one was around 2014, 2015. I've had another one since when I was in
Mm.
Mexico, so it's kind of amazing,
But
this
just
journey.
more opening layers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And when I had that spiritual awakening, I was going to a lot of workshops, and I was very involved with a spiritual group that was kind of putting on a lot of events and stuff.
Mm.
And yeah, and I fell into that trap of like this, if I feel okay, if I'm happy, if I'm content, then good things are gonna come my way. And then what was happening is sometimes I was feeling good and not so good things were happening. And I
Mm.
was like, oh, that doesn't work so well.
Mm.
And then I realized actually life is gonna keep happening.
Yeah,
You know, life is going to keep happening.
And sometimes things that happen to you make you angry. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just tell someone to fuck off. And something, you know, it's not unspiritual. It's still a conscious thing to be like that sometimes.
No. So
Yeah.
for me, what I found now is that I don't use the word spiritual about myself so much anymore. I guess for me, it's become something about being my authentic self, my authentic essence, you know,
Yeah,
what
that's nice.
it means, whatever that means.
Mm.
So my authentic self sometimes needs to speak my truth. I need to
Mm.
speak my truth with another human being. And when I do
Yeah.
that, I feel better because I've been honest with myself. So that's going to make me feel good. And I do it in a way that is compassionate, non-judgmental. So trying to apply spiritual principles into my life,
Mm.
you know, as much as possible. I don't discuss things when I'm angry because I know that's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So I wait until I've calmed down. But I just try to honor, that's the word, honor my feelings today, whatever they
Yeah.
are, more or less. In, you know, some days, like I said, I might just want to watch Netflix, but the next day I'm like, okay, bring it on, what's going on? And
Mm.
sometimes, I mean, to be honest, I mean, people think sometimes that being a DJ is like you have a very glamorous life, and you know, you're playing sets on the beach, which is amazing, by the way.
Mm.
And I really enjoy doing that in Mexico. Everyone is like wearing like, swim costumes, and the sea is just over there, and you can go for a dip
Mm.
after your set or
Amazing. With
after you
the
dance, you
moon in
know.
the sky and
Yeah,
oh
and the
just yeah,
sun is shining
gorgeous.
and it's all great. But actually,
Mm.
sometimes I went through a massive healing journey in Mexico for about 4 months out of the 6 months that I was there, which was totally unplanned, totally never saw that coming. But I opened myself to the universe. I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to see whatever I need to see. And it came. And it came one after another thing. And it was a massive, you know, so people thought, oh, that's so nice that you're playing on the beach. And sometimes I was just in my little studio crying my eyes out, going
Mm.
through massive purgings
Yeah.
and and letting go of all mindsets, letting go of anger, actually, letting go of anger,
Mm.
letting go. I mean, all anger. I don't mean new anger,
Mm.
and letting go of so many things. That's when the PT. I don't even call it my PTSD. I say the PTSD that I used to have left my body through
Mm.
that 4 month process. You know,
Yeah.
and wow, it's quite amazing, isn't it? So
Mm.
it's kind of like nowadays is a bit of a balance of like feeling and honoring. Um, you know, so honoring my feelings and
Mm.
but then not holding on to them for too long either, you know,
Yeah.
because
Because you can
that
stay
was
stuck there and you don't want to stay stuck
for
there. You
me.
just want to allow them to come through. Yeah.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
now I allow them, I feel them, I process them, I acknowledge them. I If I need to take an action, I will.
Mm.
If I need to change something in my life, I do. If I need to talk to a person, I do. Whatever I need to do, I will. Because also I find that taking actions usually change the energy as well.
Mm.
You know, if I'm
I
stuck
find I really find
in
having lots of
anything,
conscious friends in my life
then
is just been the most valuable thing. And during those processes, I can voice journal to them and someone will listen. And I'm like, you don't have to respond, but I'm just going through this thing and this is what's happening and this is how I feel. And I'm wondering if this, I'm wondering if that, process. And then my friends will say, I've heard you, it's valid, blah 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 blah. And if they feel like they need to say anything, they will. And so we just help each other through these processes all the time. And that to
same
me is
here.
just gold.
Same here. When I was in
Yeah.
Mexico, actually, I was talking to a good friend of mine. Hi, Anna.
Mm.
Anna is a good friend of mine. She's also from Spain, but she also lives in London. And sometimes she would stay up. She was staying up late, and with the change of time, I was up as well.
Mm.
So we used to chat for hours, like 3, 4 hours. I'm not kidding you. One time, I think we were chatting on a video call for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
So, and we used to talk about everything. And I tell you what, that was for me, that was such a lifeline because I was in Mexico in a foreign country. I mean, I had acquaintances, shall we say, you know, from previous visits, but not sort of super intimate friends like I have in London. And so sometimes, you know, you're in a foreign country and you want to really be honest about things. And I was going through such a roller coaster with this healing journey for 4 months. And it was amazing to have someone, you know, like a couple of friends in London that I could call, and it was a lifesaver thing, you know, it was a life-saving thing. So literally, yeah, it got me through. It really helped me. It really got me through that time. So it's very important to have that. I think when I was taking drugs, I had a lot of using friends. They were
Oh,
not
I
really
mean,
friends, you
yeah.
know, they
I
were
remember when
not
I
there for
stopped.
me.
Yeah, well, when I got pregnant, this was a big deal for me. When I got pregnant, and all the people that I've been hanging out with, like two came to visit me when I had the baby, and it was like, they're not really my friends, are you? You're just people that are only there for the party.
And I wasn't their friend either. You know, we
Mm.
were all on the same boat. We were all kind of, you know,
Escaping together
escaping reality
and
together.
enabling each other to be in that place of escape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that made me feel connected because we were doing it together. That made me feel connected to them and them connected
yeah.
to me. But it was chemically induced. It wasn't like
Mm.
real, honest intimacy, you know?
Mm.
It was more like superficial stuff. And now I can have those real intimate relationships with people.
Yeah, and it's so much more superior, and it's just so much better, isn't it?
It's like black and white.
And that's what I'm really looking forward to with Elevate as well, is that I
Yeah,
know that everyone that's coming is just up for that kind of real connection and just childlike fun,
totally,
you
totally.
know? Yeah.
Yes, yes. I'm actually now a bit allergic to small talk, you know?
Yes. When I do small talk,
Oof,
it's always with
oof.
like
Like I can do it for
neighbors,
10
or
minutes. And
I feel like I'm acting a role, and I'll just go and I'll kind of sprinkle my high vibrational like magic into small talk,
yeah,
but I almost
yeah,
make it too deep for most people because you can see them being
yeah.
like, this is too, and
I
but
don't
that's
know what
me,
you're talking about.
yeah, and that's me really, really like
Like,
watering it down. Yeah.
and for me, and you know, when you do like 12-step programs as well, you do like I've done thousands probably of meetings over the years, for about 13 years in my earlier time in recovery. And you learn to be very honest, you know, you speak your
Mm.
truth a lot and you
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
the truth a lot. It becomes part of your life. So suddenly,
Mm.
for me, it's like normal to be
Yeah.
honest. But like most people, if they, you know, if you ask them, how are you? And they go, and I'll
Mm.
be like, ooh, you know, blah, 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 or whatever, something really deep. And they go, all right then.
Yeah. I know
Like,
you start
information.
feeling people feeling uncomfortable because you've taken the conversation out of their comfort zone.
I am. I'm being honest, you know? So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But me, like talking about my feelings and my life in an honest way is just normal
Mm.
now. Is
Yeah.
is how I roll.
It's navigating this kind of new way of being, this remembering of who we really are and how we really should be connecting with each other, and then navigating that still in this kind of weird matrix Babylon that we've created, where people are still at that level of awareness, and we're kind of navigating through that, and when you can get into spaces where there are just people on that kind of level of awareness, you're like, oh, I just love you all, because
It's
there
amazing.
you are, other people that are just,
We can
you
just be
know.
us. We can just be
Yeah,
us. We don't have to pretend to
and
say I'm
that's
okay when
way
I'm not
more,
okay or whatever, you know?
yeah, and that's way more of a sort of shared communion than ecstasy ever used to promote, wasn't it? You know, because that
Yeah.
was kind of like a fake love. This is
It's a
like a
chemically
real love and
induced
a real
happiness and joy
connection.
and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I used to love
No, and I
ecstasy
really feel like we were
at the
supposed to do
time, you
it.
know, at
Yeah,
the
if we
time it
didn't,
just because
yeah,
everybody loved everybody. It was like the love
yeah.
drug, you
But
know?
it taught us how to love, didn't it? It taught us how to
Yes,
love a stranger. And
yes,
actually, that's been so
yes,
valuable on my journey, to be able to love
yeah.
a stranger unconditionally, or to look for the reasons to love people in them. And I feel like if we hadn't have had the chemical generation of ecstasy in the 90s and early noughties, then we wouldn't be where we are now. You know, it gave
Yeah,
us that, it helped us learn, yeah,
yeah,
that way of connecting with people.
yeah. Connecting with people, definitely.
Yeah.
But what I found now, especially through static dance, for example, is when I'm on a dance floor, like I was last Saturday, for example, with 150 other people, all sober, all on the same wavelength, listen, connected to the music, connected to the group energy and everything. I get the goosebumps and I get the feeling of connection that I used to get on ecstasy.
Yeah.
Which, look, I get
I
goosebumps.
I
Oh,
literally yearn to certain tunes, like I'm properly like almost feeling a bit of a like, I like this one, or like, different those feelings that ecstasy used to induce to certain sounds in music and stuff like that, and I'm feeling it in my
yeah.
body,
Oh,
and
yeah. And
and
I
I
can
mean,
feel the vibration of the music
yeah,
in your
and
body.
ecstasy taught
Yeah.
me how to connect with the music. It taught me,
Mm.
I remember, my hands would be doing this with the melody and my feet would be doing, and every part of me would be tapped into another part of the music. And they were all just, I was just naturally ecstatically dancing. And the trance, like for me, going into a trance on the dance floor, like there's so many different types of ecstatic and conscious dances now, but the one that I run is very much from my embodied experience. And so I try to get people into connecting their body in that way. Like some are quite somatic, the way they move, but like I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, I'm trying to like
Yeah.
do all of this stuff, but it sometimes certain music, but I just love to just like, yes,
Yeah.
that makes me feel so good, and that is somatic, and it is releasing, and it is like
Yes,
lifting my
definitely.
spirit,
Definitely.
and yeah.
That's why this is interesting because that is why I like to include high energy music in my sets,
Oh, I
you
just
know,
love it.
because I feel that the nervous system needs all of it, needs the gentle, the melodic, the beautiful
Yeah,
lyrics, the connecting to yourself, connecting to your body, connecting to your soul, I guess. Yeah, that's what it is. And connect to the group. But then also, I feel in its release as well, in its fun and in its release and in its wild.
yeah,
So for me, that's why I usually
bit of all
include
of it, and that's the whole
psytrance,
journey.
psytrance music in my sets, in kind of
Mm.
the journey. Uh, I found also I mean, the psytrance that I normally choose, it's not just like boom, 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 that kind of sound, which is so boring for me and it's not
Yeah,
interesting.
not like German techno or something.
Yeah, it's not like the typical, there's many, many different types of psytrance I've
I really
discovered,
like
you know.
Highlight Tribe,
Uh-huh, yes. And
something like,
Goa psytrance, for example, and
yeah.
also psytrance that has inspirational lyrics in it, or
Mm,
or
yeah.
tribal, lots of drums, tribal sounds, lots of drums,
And
African
also we can really wake
psytrance.
people up spiritually with music, because that's when I
Yeah,
had my biggest
totally,
spiritual awakening. I
totally.
remember it was on the dance floor, and I was in this sort of trance-like state, and it was in 1999. And I remember that there was the planets had all lined up, and there was like this kind of like real energy at that time. And I was dancing, and the tune by Lost Tribe,
Uh-huh.
um, Games Master. Do you know that
Uh,
one?
I think so.
You're becoming aware of yourself as the
Yes,
Games Master.
we become game masters. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
and then
Yeah,
there's a whole kind of poetic vocal over that track that
yeah,
just spoke to me. It said, maybe you're aware of those who are watching over your home, and you're seeing this as a place to visit and play with
yes, I
reality.
remember that.
And it was like
Yes, I
you're
remember
becoming
that.
aware of yourself as a game master, and it was like, wow. And that's when I learned to
Yeah,
really
look, I'm getting
manifest. Yeah.
goosebumps.
And I just stood there like, yeah, we're here
Yeah.
to like play with reality. Like we're here to, this is a game almost. And we can create, and so that's when I really started manifesting, was from
Yeah.
1999, like from this one track that just opened
Wow.
me up. I was like, I get it.
Yes.
I get
Yes.
it.
And
So
that's
to be
why
able to
also
play
I
music like that, when people are really open in that space, it's
exactly,
like, oh,
exactly.
I get it.
Actually,
Yeah.
I found that also high energy music, for example, like tribal African psytrance, for example, with lots of drums and you're jumping around and you're releasing, it helps you release a lot of suppressed emotions that are trapped in the body
Yeah.
because sometimes hold on to things we subconsciously. We don't realize we're doing it. Somebody looks at you funny on the street, for example, or a bus driver that is rude to you, and you go, oh, and then you get distracted, and that feeling, it goes into the
They
body.
stop, yeah.
And then you're accumulating more and more situations, with your partner, with your boss, with whatever, something happens, and we keep subconsciously, because sometimes we don't even have time to process all these things because we are on the go constantly in this modern life that we live now. We are on the go. So sometimes something happens and you can't even afford 5 minutes to go, oh, that really hurt, or that really made me feel this way, or whatever. You just have to go to the next thing. So what happens? Everything is kind of getting stored in the body. So then when you dance to high energy music, you've been through the lovely, feeling safe kind of melodic music or whatever before, then you've been through the fun music, you're feeling more joy, and then you dance to this high energy music, you're able to let go of a lot of this suppressed stuff that it was in your body. And I do believe from my own experience and from what I've learned over the years that it's those stored energies in the body that makes us sick, especially when it comes to physical health and mental health, is the accumulation of so much stored in the body. All those times when we got angry, when we got sad, when we felt things and we couldn't process them because there was no time or there was no space. So for me, that's why I feel so strongly about including high energy music in my sets, so that people are able to let go, shake off a lot of these stored emotions, but also or energies. But also, what I've learned as an ecstatic dance dancer and as a DJ now is that after we dance to high energy music, we become more open, right? So after you have this peak, so we say, in ecstatic dance, it's called chaos, right? This chaos is wild side, is shouting, is screaming, letting go of all these energies. And then the heart is more open than it was in the beginning. You let go of all these energies, you feel more relaxed and your heart is more open. Now we are more able to that's when I can go deeper in my sets, that's when I can bring in depth with beautiful lyrics, like you are saying, with spiritual stuff. That then we are more able to hear, and we are more able to absorb it because our bodies now are more relaxed and we feel like we are in the zone now. And that's when I kind of, the second part of my journey is usually I bring in the deeper stuff, and then I can take people on a different journey than the first half, shall we say, which is more kind of melodic and fun. Now we can kind of get to the nitty-gritty. We can kind of have fun, but at the same time kind of experience other things, investigate all the emotions, all the feelings, all the things.
So just before your set on the Saturday night at Elevate, we have Clara Apollo doing a chakra qigong session. So that's a really good way of, I think she'll be doing it like through the chakras. Are you aware of qigong? And it's an ancient kind of Chinese way of purging and toning our life force energy, and it's something I practice daily. And
right.
And
I am aware of it, but I don't practice myself. I haven't got in.
And sometimes when I dance, I just feel to do some of this qigong, just to really like. And sometimes it's just nice to sort of shower in the energy of the room at the end, and things like that. But she'll be helping us release from our chakras before people are dancing with you. So it will be
great.
So they'll be guided into the movement already, and quite a bit of release already. So that's going to be really, really good next to each other.
That'll be amazing. And I have to add that although I say that my sets can get deeper, they get deeper in a fun way. It's not like we're gonna go, oh my God, that was heavy. Still dancing, we're still having fun, but just a different way and in a more kind of how to say, more flowing way, just to feel different things, just to.
Yeah, we've got so many dance workshops this year, and I think it's so important at this type of event because people will be having their processes.
Oh
Even
yeah,
just being in a heart
just being
open
there.
space
Mm-hmm.
is so new for some people that even just sitting in a circle, people start crying, don't they? Like, oh God, I can feel this energy of everyone. It just feels beautiful. And or if they feel seen in a workshop or having a conversation with somebody, I think it brings a lot of emotion out of people. But we've got, a jam-packed workshops all day, and so the dance are just like these injections of, okay, let's process that out now, let's find the
Yes,
joy.
exactly. Exactly.
And it's
Let's just dance it
balance.
off, let's
Yeah,
just dance it off. That's
yeah,
what I do when I dance, I just dance things off. I
yeah.
mean, and I was going to say that I find that festivals, especially in retreats, can be very intense, not just for the new people, for me too, like for
Yeah.
people that have done it before, because sometimes when we are on the go in the city, sometimes in this life,
Mm,
modern life, we are suppressing stuff without realizing. And
yeah,
then you spend 4 days in the countryside on the beach or whatever, in nature, with like-minded people, moving the body. I think once you start moving your body, things start to come up
yeah,
immediately, like
yeah.
automatically. Because also sometimes we keep things, in a stiff way. Oh, I'm busy, I'm busy. If you ask someone, oh, lovely cat. Oh, beautiful. I've got to. They're sleeping
It
now.
was funny when you just mentioned your cat, and then mine was like trying to climb
Yeah.
over all the bits and pieces.
Uh, so if you ask someone in a city like London, like how are you? The 99% of the responses will be busy. I'm busy.
Mm, yeah,
It's like, no, I didn't ask you if you're busy. Like, how are you
yeah,
feeling?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but that's what happens. We get busy. So then we go to these places, and as soon as you start moving the body, you realize, oh, I hadn't processed that, and I hadn't processed
Mm,
it's coming up. So, but what I find is when you can dance it off,
yeah,
that's let go of it.
yeah.
I tell
Very
you,
quickly, a very quick process of just
I,
release.
for
Yeah.
me, static dance, I've been a dancer in a static dance events for maybe 8 years, something like that, right? And so I was dancing for about 6, 7 years before I became a DJ. And I still dance. Like I go every week to dance because I love it, and I need it, like I said,
Mm,
so that I'm not kind of keeping things in anymore.
yeah.
Um, and it's literally saved my mental health, I have to say, and it's really good for my physical health too, and
Mm.
and for bringing in like a sense of belonging and
Yeah, it's
community.
the best thing. We were talking the other day about how these dances are just creating such amazing communities now.
Yeah,
It's like the modern day church, isn't it? It's like,
much better.
much, much
you're
better.
not you're not being indoctrinated.
Yeah,
You're not
you're
being
free just to be
conditioned
yourself.
to
And
in a way, or to
yeah,
say, oh, you should be in hell now.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, I grew up in Spain in a Catholic country
yeah.
and going to nuns and priest schools. Nothing
Mm,
against religion, each to their own.
mm.
But I always say that I'm also a recovering Catholic.
Yeah, me too.
because
Yeah. Like,
because
because,
I had a lot of guilt and shame
yeah,
uh, to me, which wasn't mine,
yeah.
and it was there most of my life. This guilt.
Repent, repent.
Yeah, I mean, I felt guilty a lot of the time for a lot of
Yeah,
things, and I was like, why
yeah.
do I feel so guilty about things? But anyway, what I found this static dance really changed my life. It was, I mean, definitely changed my life. And I tell you, just to give a bit of an idea, uh, 3 years ago, this is a bit, I hope people don't mind me sharing this because it's quite honest, but 3 years ago, my brother was murdered in Spain. And I couldn't dance for a little while, I was quite in
Mm,
shock for a long time. But after about 8 months, I started dancing again. I went to the static dances in London, to my home group, I should say. Um, and you know what? At the time, I didn't really need therapy because just dancing it off, the frustrations, the anger, the upset, the whatever, the grief. I just went and I just danced. And a lot of the times the group that I go to is in a very large venue, and it has a large screen, and behind the screen it's usually very quiet because most people are on the dance floor in front of the screen, not behind. So I will just go there on my own and just, and have 2 hours of my own processing of how I was feeling, not caring what people thought of me, not, not being bothered about that, just knowing this is a safe space for me to do this. And
Mm.
that's how I go through, that process.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is a
and,
powerful example.
yeah,
If it can help you get through that kind of trauma in your life, then we know it's a powerful exercise, don't we? Yeah,
and there was days when I went there and I cried whilst I was dancing. There were
yeah.
days when I felt angry and I would just punch the air and kick the air and just be very physical about it and just
Mm.
need to get the anger out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I use it. I used it that way.
Mm.
So that's look, I get goosebumps.
No,
That's
I'm feeling
how
it myself. Thank you so
that's
much for sharing, because that's a really personal and
yeah,
but it was so worth sharing because it's a great example. Yeah.
yeah, this is how powerful
Mm.
dancing and moving sober can be.
Yeah.
This is how powerful. I mean, I've had therapy in the past, nothing against therapy. I'm totally pro therapy.
Mm.
But at the time, it's like I didn't need it. Like I knew what was happening to me was to do with grief and shock, not with something that I needed to work about
Yeah.
myself in therapy, if you know what I
Mm.
mean. So I just knew that it was a natural process that I could get through it, and I use dance as therapy, and I
That's
still do.
amazing. It's so beautiful to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I have a bit of a difficult week or whatever, I know I can go to my static dance on Saturday or Friday and just dance it off
Mm.
and get in touch with those feelings and let them go. And just,
Yeah.
and if they don't go because it's something big, like what happened to my brother, then I come back next week and I do the same
Mm.
until it feels a little bit easier.
And it's something that, you don't even have to go to a workshop to do it. It's something that, often when I feel that need to like dance something off, I'll just be on my own in my kitchen. I've got a disco ball in there.
I love it.
So
I need a
it's
disco.
like, and sometimes it'll be Alexa, play Highlight Tribe, and then it's do 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 do, like,
I dance in my kitchen so much.
yeah, and
I
my
dance in
hair's
my flat so
shaking, and
much
it's yeah.
all the time, especially when I find some music, because I listen to a lot of
Mm.
music, obviously, for my, I don't call it work, for my vocation.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of music. And when I find like a song that really like gives me
Yeah.
goosebumps and it's like, wow, like now
Yeah.
I feel it, like, oh, I have to share with this with people. This is kind of
Yeah.
magical. And so I listen to it like so many times, and I can be doing the dishes or dancing in my living room. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so
Mm.
nice. And when you do it, you feel so good after.
Yeah.
When you do
Yeah.
that, you feel so good because dancing, I mean, I play a song where there is sometimes I play a side song, interestingly enough, which has a bit where this Cockney guy comes in. It's like an Indian music, right? Uh,
Mm.
it's like Indian influence music. And then this
Yeah.
Cockney guy, which you don't expect it, comes
All
in
right, geezer.
like another guy and
Yeah.
goes, "This is the answer." And you go like, "What?"
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
You,
And I like that as well. I really like the creativity and the play with genres and different
yeah,
things, when people get really experimental with that, like that
yeah,
switches
I
me
love
on. I
it.
love
And,
that.
and
Yeah.
then you stop in your tracks because it's like a quiet part of the song. And
Mm.
then the guy's like, because when you dance, you forget yourself, you forget your
Yeah.
personality, you forget your job, you forget all of that. And what you're
Mm.
in is the now, and the now is blissful. And then the music goes,
Mm.
dun, dun, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh,
when
I
I
felt
click
it
that,
as
I tell you,
well.
people go mental.
Yes.
Because- But
Yeah.
that's true. Dance is the answer. For
Yeah.
me, dance has been the
So
answer.
if you could play that at Elevate, there's a request.
Oh, pleasure. I love
Oh,
it. I
yeah,
think people do
it's
such a good
been
job.
yeah. I mean, it's been so wonderful chatting to you. You really resonate with my own story, and actually why that's wonderful for me is earlier you mentioned that you don't want to attach to the word spiritual, and I'm very similar. Although I am really spiritual, I don't want to call myself that, because I think that what happens is these words kind of get overused, a bit like vegan. Like, I don't want to attach to the word vegan. I never say I'm a vegan. It feels, I don't want to be a label. And it's the same with spiritual. Like, to me, spiritual is just a remembering. It's just who we are. It's our authentic self. I don't know why it needs a label. And it sort of puts me off. But what I love is that what I'm offering with Elevate, what I see with Elevate, isn't that there's a lot of connotations about what spiritual should look like in this modern world right now. You know, that, you know, you should be wearing these types of clothes, and you should have these types of piercings and tattoos, and you should be talking in this certain way. And that's not it.
And you should be happy all the time.
Yeah, and with Elevate, it's like, no, you don't need to be any of that. You can just be you, whatever that looks like, whatever language you use and how you sound, or whatever clothes you wear. It's just about connection, and let's raise the frequency together. Let's feel better together. And I really feel that you've been attracted in for a reason, because you resonate to me with that vibe of, there doesn't have to be any bullshit. Just be yourself. You know, don't hide, because it's still a mask, isn't it, that people are wearing, or it's an ego sometimes that hasn't quite, well, you were talking earlier about the spiritual bypassing. There's a lot of that going on. And so, but with Elevate, it's like, you don't need these masks or these fashions or these language to be.
I call it the spiritual ego, you know. I experienced some of that when I was in Mexico as well. Obviously, there's light and dark everywhere, and I experienced some of that.
And obviously, there's always trends, you know, there's always trends, and people sort of need a sense of belonging, and so they'll adopt things, you know, because they haven't quite
but
found
also there is an ego in terms of feeling, because I'm awake and aware, I'm helping save the planet.
And actually, you're you know, having talked to you, and the same for me, is that we're coming from a place of an embodied experience. You know, we talked before we came on about how we're both elders now in our lives, and so we're coming from an embodied experience. It's not something we've read in a book or something someone at a workshop told us. Like, we're coming from a place of our own experience.
The dark night of its soul a few times around. And then coming to the light again, and all the growth that goes with that. But having said that, I totally agree with you. But having said that, I also try to practice compassion and open-minded.
100%, yes.
That are, wearing the nice clothes, and what I call Instagram hippies, you know?
I wear my floaty dresses and things. I'm just saying, you don't have to be a certain way to be spiritual. It's almost like that word has come with lots of connotations now.
In any box. Can just be you, and that's the whole point. So for me, my whole spiritual journey has been about, I'm not going to say becoming me, because I was always me, but about shedding and me, you know, so that I could find myself in there somewhere, and become more and more me than I was before, without the masks, because I had the masks as well, and I had the, you know, the different personalities according to different groups of people and all of that stuff, you know. But it's been about, you know, shedding the conditioning. Also, I had a lot of conditioning, which I think we all do, in the way we grow up, from family, religion, society, everything, from school, you know. So I spent years like being aware of these conditionings and kind of trying to let them go. I became very aware. I was like in a deconditioning mission, I called it, you know.
Mission. Yes.
And still to this day, sometimes I catch myself thinking something that is not mine. Sometimes, when I had my spiritual awakening in 2014-15, I fell in that trap of like, oh, you have to be this way, you have to be that way.
But that's it. It's almost like an identity, which again, that's just wearing another mask, isn't it? It's like, oh, I identify as a spiritual person now, so I'm going to say grand rising instead of a good morning, and I'm going to wear these clothes, and I'm going, you know, and it's like, but you're still trying to be somebody else.
It's another type of conditioning. It's another type of conditioning. There is no my essence. you know.
Yeah.
So it's always going back to what my essence is really.
Who are you beyond that? Like what really,
Beyond,
yes. Yeah, yeah.
beyond that. And but that in itself has been an amazing discovering journey.
Yeah.
And like I said, to be aware of what's not serving me or what I don't like, first I have to experience it.
Mm.
Then, oh, okay, I did that, and that didn't serve me well. So what am I gonna? I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it differently now. So I had to fall on that spiritual trap that I have to be this way and talk this way and be that way to realize actually this is conditioning me as well. I need to
Mm.
get out of this and just be me. And I believe the whole existence, my whole existence in this planet is about, going back to me,
Yeah.
forgetting who I am and then spending like a lifetime sort of through
Discovering.
this life experiences, traumatic life experiences, then,
Mm.
addiction, then recovery, then spirituality, whatever, then, growing as a person. And now to be like, okay, this is who I am now. And I kind of feel like of course, the learning is a lifelong journey, but I kind of feel like now I got there to a place where I'm more myself than I've ever been before. And so now I'm practicing spiritual principles. I'm not being a spiritual. I'm
Yeah.
practicing the spiritual principles like compassion, like
Yeah.
honesty and things like that in my day-to-day life. Most of the time, I have to say, I'm not
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah.
Some days I don't so
Yeah, well,
well.
we're not perfect, are we? And that's a
That's
big
okay.
misconception that when you're spiritual, you ever become perfect because we're not.
Now
We're
I can practice
humans. We're not
self-compassion as
robots.
well to say, oh, you didn't do very well yesterday. That's okay. I'll
Yeah.
try better next time. And that's okay.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
an amazing journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, well, look, it'd be so lovely to properly connect with you. And I can't wait to be in a field with you and actually properly meet you and hug
Oh, we're
you
gonna have a good time.
and
We're gonna have
dance.
a good time. Yes, and
Yes.
dance.
Yeah,
Yes, it's gonna
yeah,
be great. And
yeah,
thank you so much for inviting me here today. I feel honored
yeah,
it's like really honored to talk to you and to come to Elevate and do a set there and have a good time with you guys with
yeah.
your
Meet new people and yeah. Where can people find you, or have you got any offerings you'd like to share now? Or
yeah,
yeah.
so I'm on Instagram. I actually, you know what? I didn't have social media for about 7 years, and then I go into Instagram because
Mm,
work that I'm doing now. So
yeah,
you can find me at DJ Amaya Garcia on
yeah.
Instagram. DJ
I will
Amaya Garcia.
tag it. I'll tag you on.
So people can listen. Yes, people can listen to some of my previous sets on SoundCloud. So DJ Amaya Garcia, the same name on SoundCloud, so they can get a bit of a feel for my music. I have to say, the last year I was playing more ecstatic dances with trance music only. So classical
Mm.
and trance music. I can see your smile there.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
like, when? I'm there.
and now this year I'm playing more of a mixed genres, different things from medicine music to organic to house to trance to psytrance. Uh, yeah, lots of different genres. So yeah, SoundCloud, and also I'm gonna be DJing at Buddha Field Festival this year.
Oh, well.
Anyone who's going to Buddha Field, I'm gonna be there playing on the Thursday, I think it is evening. Also, Ecstatic Dance Festival UK in Osholila in Dorset in July, and then Rumble Festival. Yeah, that's it. Rumble Festival, which is in London, not far from
Yeah.
London. So I'll be there too. And
Amazing.
find me.
Yeah, you'll be everywhere. And then you're coming to Elevate in August.
Can't
Woo!
wait. It'll be
Yes.
amazing.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you so much for talking to me
my
today.
pleasure.
And
Thank you.
I really look forward to seeing you.
Same here, darling. See you soon.